questions. Question orale, the Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Mr. Speaker, around the world, countries are procuring hundreds of millions of rapid tests. The WHO procured 120 million, the United States 165 million, France is performing 1 million tests a week, and Italy now has 30-minute tests at their airport. But on Friday, we learned that this government is blocking Manitoba from being able to procure their own rapid tests. The Prime Minister has been months late on securing rapid tests for Canadians. Why are they now making the provinces go to the back of the line as well?
The Honourable Deputy Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, let me just begin by congratulating the member opposite on his election as Leader of the Official Opposition, and to say how pleased I was by his and his wife's recovery from COVID-19. I share the member opposite's view that rapid testing is absolutely essential to our health. It is absolutely essential to our economic recovery. That's why I'm pleased we bought 7.9 million rapid tests last week.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Mr. Speaker, the Deputy Prime Minister said rapid tests are essential, but her own minister is sending mixed signals from the federal government. Last month, the Health Minister said that provinces were free to develop and deploy their own rapid tests. 9 days later, the Health Minister told the Government of Manitoba that they could not buy the recently approved Health Canada test. The Health Minister has flip-flopped on the border, on the risks of COVID, on the use of masks, and now on rapid tests. When will the government stop interfering in provincial COVID plans?
The Honourable Deputy Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, first of all, let me say that the Health Minister is a cherished colleague who is doing a fantastic job. When it comes to provinces and the fight against the coronavirus, this is an effort that we must undertake together. That is why over the summer we agreed the Safe Restart Agreement, $19 billion to the provinces to support their fight against coronavirus, and another $2 billion for the safe restart of schools.
Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Mr. Speaker, several regions of our country have to fight with a second wave. We've had to make sacrifices to fight against COVID, but yesterday there were more than 1,000 new cases. If we don't have rapid testing, people have more chance of spreading this virus. The Prime Minister promised quick testing 6 months ago, and after all this time, we're still wondering, how come rapid testing is not ready for the second wave? The Honourable Deputy Prime Minister. Thank you. I agree with the Leader of the Opposition in terms of what Quebec and the provinces are doing, and I support these measures. It's very important, and we have to work with Quebec. In terms of rapid testing, we purchased 7.9 million rapid tests last week, and the tests will be in Canada next week.
Mr. Speaker, they just ordered tests 6 months after they promised they would. Their slow response is impacting millions of Canadians. In Quebec, it's the long lineups. In Ontario, it's the labs who are stretched to the limit. In Manitoba, it's confusion over buying rapid tests. Mr. Speaker, when is the Prime Minister going to take the health of Canadians seriously and roll out a real plan for rapid testing?
Honourable Deputy Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, let me be very clear. The Prime Minister, and indeed I believe all members of this House, take the health of Canadians extremely seriously. When it comes to rapid testing, I was very pleased that last week we were able to announce the procurement of 7.9 million rapid tests. Those tests will be in Canada next week, and we will have more to announce about rapid tests very soon.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Mr. Speaker, Canadians and Quebecers know that the Liberal government refused to close borders in time for ideological reasons. The New York Times showed that there was nothing scientific in the idea of keeping the borders open. The Prime Minister preferred to follow the WHO's erroneous policies rather than listening to Canadians. How come the Prime Minister did not want to close the border when he should have? The Honourable Deputy Prime Minister, if I may, Mr. Speaker, I'd like to correct one small thing. Quebecers are Canadians. With respect to the border, I have to say that I'm very proud of our government's policy, particularly with respect to the border with the United States. We were successful in limiting non-essential travel, and at the same time, trade that is so essential was able to continue, and we're going to continue to do that.
Member for Carleton.
Thank you. L'Allemagne,
Germany, the UK, and Japan are also dealing with COVID-19, but their unemployment rate is half ours here in Canada. Not only do we have double the unemployment rate of those three countries, we also have the highest unemployment rate in the G7, 3% higher than the OECD. We have the worst jobs record here in Canada among the entire G7. And it's because of this government's policies. Will this government do away with its anti-employment policies to allow Canadians to get back to work? The Honourable Deputy Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, the Conservatives do not want to admit it, but our economic policy is working for workers. You don't have to take my word for it. I quote, Canada is ahead of the United States in terms of job levels. 2/3 of lost jobs have been recovered by August, and it's only 55% in the U.S. And I believe the U.S. is a G7 country.
crisis with a much higher unemployment rate than the United States of America because of the anti-job policies of this government. And right now, today, this country has higher unemployment than the U.S., the U.K., Japan, Germany, Italy, France, 3 percentage points higher than across the OECD. That is the result of a failed jobs policy here in Canada. When will this government get out of the way so that Canada gets out of last place?
The Honourable Deputy Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, I would just like to remind the member for Carleton that going into this crisis, Canada had the lowest unemployment rate we have had in 40 years. And I believe that there were a few Conservative governments during that period. They didn't hit our record. Now, when it comes to international comparison, I think the better metric is labor force participation. Canada is at 78.5%. Australia is only at 77.5%. The U.S. at 73%. At South Korea at 62.1%. We're higher than all of those countries, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Leeds, Grenville, Thousand Islands, and Rideau Lakes.
Over the weekend, a gangland shooting occurred where the targets were connected to an international money laundering syndicate. Now, these individuals are linked to the Chinese Communist Party efforts to interfere in Canadian politics and disrupt this country's institutions. These same people have rubbed shoulders with well-known Liberals, including former MP Joe Pescasolido, former Minister Raymond Chan, former Liberal Party insider Michael Ching. When will these Liberals temper their affection for the Chinese Communist Party and protect Canada's democracy?
The Honourable Minister.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. And let me be very clear that our government is actually quite firm in dealing with individuals who are attempting to hide their money in Canada and on organized crime. And I would simply remind the member opposite that in their last 4 years in office, they slashed the budget of law enforcement by over $500 million. They closed 12 integrated proceeds of crime unit. And so tough talk about crime and organized crime and protecting Canadians was backed up by very weak action. And Mr. Speaker, we're reversing the cuts and the slashes that they've made, and we're restoring the capacity of our law enforcement agencies to keep us safe.
The Honourable Minister for Leeds, Grenville, Thousand Islands and Rideau Lakes.
Well, it's clear that cozying up with the Chinese Communist Party comes with serious consequences. And Joe Pescasolido, whose ethical violation these Liberals tried to cover up in this House last week, is one of the Liberals connected with the incident. Many of the individuals pictured with these senior Liberals have ties to the United Front, an organization that Beijing has been using to suppress pro-democracy rallies in Hong Kong. The Liberals have had these ties for years. When will the Prime Minister finally condemn those who are actively trying to undermine democracy here and in Hong Kong?
Bravo. The Honourable Minister of Foreign Affairs.
Mr. Speaker, we will take no lessons from the Conservatives when it comes to dealing with China, Mr. Speaker. We were the first country in the world to suspend our extradition treaty with Hong Kong, Mr. Speaker. We suspended the export of sensitive equipment to Hong Kong, Mr. Speaker. We're going to announce measure on immigration with respect to Hong Kong, Mr. Speaker. At every step of the way, we have fought for human rights. We're standing up for the people of Hong Kong and the 300,000 Canadians who live in Hong Kong.